the Lord. Bless the Lord. It is good for us to be here another time in the house of the Lord. You know, I listen to all of the news and all of the different commentary that is going on in regards to the war that is going on up in Ukraine. You know, I look at the text of scripture and it says, evil men and seducers shall wax worse and worse, deceiving and being deceived. And we are seeing the world is deteriorating right before our very eyes. And I'm seeing also the hypocrisy. I know, you know, everybody is reaching out to the Ukrainian people, and I agree that the world needs to show mercy and compassion to the people in Ukraine. But on the other side, I'm seeing the hypocrisy and the racism that is coming from leaders like President Joe Biden, you know, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, the Prime Minister of England. All of these guys, you know, when we're showing mercy, to people, mercy should be right across the board. Should have no discrimination when you're showing mercy. And I believe that the people of Ukraine, yes, they need mercy. Who would want to be in that condition? But I'm seeing the hypocrisy and the racism in President Joe Biden and Prime Minister Justin Trudeau and the Prime Minister of England. And why am I saying that? It was late last year, we have people coming up from the Middle East, coming up from Africa, going up into Europe, and they're trying to cross over in some of these European countries. And they wouldn't let them in for nothing. And these people, some of these people have to take rubber boats. I don't know if it's me alone following the news. Take rubber boats and trying to cross over to go across to England. I think in one trip, 27 of them drowned trying to go across into England. No European country don't want to let them in. Now the war is going on in Ukraine. As soon as the war started, Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he opened the door to Canada to all Ukrainian people. The Premier of Ontario, he said they have lots of room in Ontario to welcome everybody. The US government ready to take them in. The Prime Minister of England ready to take them in. It was just a few months ago in the United States, in Texas. They have almost 15,000 Haitian who was living under a bridge in Texas. You know what the United States government did? They send troopers on horseback back to make sure that none of these people get into the United States. Why? Because it's black people. And what I'm seeing is that people only need mercy when they have European blood running through them. If you're not European, nobody will concern about you. You know, look, we're talking about the Ukrainian people, and yes, we have to show them mercy. I pray for them, I'm concerned about them. But how about the Palestinian people? How about the Palestinian people who under European Israel occupation for more than 75 years? People, we are all hypocrites. Even us in the church. I never hear anybody in Christendom call for prayers for Palestinian people. Palestinian people is not human. They're not humans. They don't have blood because they're not Europeans. And we have to see the hypocrisy that is in us as human beings. We only have concern when white people is suffering. If black people and people of color is suffering, nobody concerned. It doesn't make the news. We don't concern about these kind of people. But what I'm saying is that mercy and compassion should be right across the board. If the Ukrainian people deserve mercy, which I agree, I'm saying that the Haitian people deserve mercy, I'm saying that the Palestinian people deserve mercy. I'm saying that those people that are coming up from Africa, who are running away from war and famine and all of that, those different things that they are facing, they also deserve mercy. And it goes right back to what history is showing us, that anytime there's some kind of disaster in the black community or in communities of people of color, there's no help. Look at some years ago, I can't remember how many years ago, down in Africa, the Hutsi and the Tutsi. Anybody ever hear about Hutsi and Tutsi? In Rwanda, the Rwandan genocide. The United Nations have their soldiers down in Rwanda, and the Hutsi and the Tutsi lining up to kill and to slaughter each other. And everybody think that the United Nations is going to intervene and separate these two groups of black people from killing each other. What the United Nations did, they pulled out all of their soldiers. The general who was in charge of the United Nations soldiers in Rwanda at the time was a Canadian general. The guy came back here in Canada and he go crazy because what was done was a nightmare to this general. And the people of Rwanda, the Hutsi and the Tutsi, they allowed them to kill each other. I think it's more than 3 million people slaughter each other, and nobody intervened. I think it was Clinton. I think was it Clinton? I think was the president of the United States at the time. No intervention. Why? Because it's black people. You want to bet if it was European people, they would have intervened. They would have sent help. They would have tried to keep these two groups apart. So when I hear everybody crying out on behalf of Ukraine, I agree. They're suffering people over there. I have mercy and compassion on women and children, old people, suffering people over there. I agree that we need to show compassion. But I'm saying that European leaders, they are hypocrites. They are hypocrites. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau, he's a hypocrite. And President Joe Biden is a hypocrite. The Prime Minister of Great Britain is a hypocrite. They only have compassion for white people, European people. They don't have no compassion for the Palestinian. They don't have no compassion for the African. They don't have no compassion for people of color. They don't have no compassion for the Haitian. And I'm saying that is racism and that is hypocrisy at the highest level. And we as God's children, these are things that we're supposed to look at and we're supposed to call it out. And that's the reason why I'm saying, I love the way how Yeshua used to conduct himself. When Yeshua the Messiah see hypocrisy, he stood up and he called it out. People of God, we have to call out hypocrisy. And the news media is manipulating us. Any side the news media is on, everybody side with the news media. Anytime if the news media support this, we side with them. The news media, they don't support the Haitian. They don't think the Haitian was suffering. They don't support the Palestinian. They don't think the Palestinian was suffering. Everybody support the Ukrainian because they are Europeans. And Europeans, they are flesh and blood. They are human beings. But black people and people of color, they are not human beings. They don't have any feelings. And I say that we're supposed to show mercy right across the board. If we're not showing mercy right across the board, we are all hypocrites. Bless the Lord. All right. God is calling for John the Baptist. In this time that we are living in, we have to be John the Baptist. We have to be people who speak the